Hello, this is Chuck Carnevale, co-founder of FastGraphs. One of the most common questions we get from subscribers is how can we utilize FastGraphs to help identify or find attractive looking research candidates or stocks to invest in. The premium version of FastGraphs were designed with just that idea in mind. We offer 15 preloaded portfolios to premium subscribers. And they include things like the Dividend Aristocrats, the S&P 500, the Fortune 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, David Fish's Dividend Challengers, Champions, Contenders. For the growth sector, we have mid-cap and small-cap stocks, as well as NASDAQ 100, etc. And what I'm going to do with this video is show you how you can utilize this series of preloaded portfolios to screen for stocks, fairly valued stocks, very effectively. With this video, I'm going to focus on the S&P 500, considering that it possesses, growth and dividend stocks and all categories of common stocks, because it's such a large index and often considered the proxy for the market. So my first step would be to click the review button here and go into the portfolio review. Now, you have several options of how you can customize these portfolio reviews, just like you do with your own personal portfolios that you have drawn. And I've created a version here that I utilize personally that's focused on certain valuation markers that I consider essential and that I like to look at when I'm first looking for a stock. So those are the PE ratio, the price to cash flow, estimated earnings growth, estimated cash flow growth, the very important earnings yield, and dividend yield. Now, there are a lot of other categories, for example, market cap, long-term debt, credit ratings, etc. But one of the interesting parts of this feature, and I'm going to start by focusing on the PE ratio here, is if you click in the header of the column here, it will organize these by lowest to highest. In this case, I've got lowest shown up here, so you can look for the companies in the S&P 500 with the lowest price earnings ratios. And if I click it again, it will show the highest PE ratio. So this becomes a very quick valuation reference, if you will. Now, in many cases, it's not just the number here. There are other factors that you need to consider. So, of course, you can immediately go into the company. I'm going to use ESV here as an example. You can then just click on the symbol here and go directly into the company. And here, even though the PE ratio is low, I would personally reject this stock because of the fundamental deterioration that it's currently experiencing. But you can go through here and write them down. Then you can also measure that against price to cash flow. And there are certain companies where price to cash flow is more important. And you could also measure it against earnings growth. So for example, with ESV here, I would have automatically rejected that and not even drawn the graph because I would have seen, negative forecast earnings and cash flow growth. So that wouldn't have attracted me. If you're looking for dividend yield, you can also do the same thing with the dividend yield column. You can click on the dividend yield and this will show you all the stocks lowest to highest, again, that have no dividend yield in the S&P, and you click it again and it gives you the highest to the lowest. And personally, I kind of like to look around the 3 to 5% range, considering that anything above that starts to get risky. So I can then write down the names of companies that have yields. I can then check their price earnings ratios to see if they're attractive. And I can go through this process and come up and just simply write them down on a piece of scratch paper and come up with a group of candidates that I can then input into a portfolio that I might want to review more closely, a personal portfolio. And as a premium subscriber to FastGraphs, you also have the ability to have unlimited portfolios. So this is one way that you can screen. You can, of course, do the same thing with market cap, screen for highest to lowest. You can look for highest to lowest debt to capital. You can look for the best credit ratings, highest credit ratings to lowest credit ratings that are in the S&P 500. And you can do that with all of these preloaded portfolios, depending on what you're looking for, what your objectives are, what kind of companies you're looking for. So the preloaded portfolios are a great way to identify and even evaluate the markets. For example, I'm going to go in the Dow Jones Industrial Average 30 because it's such a small index, and I can also utilize this to get a very quick estimation of what the relative valuation of the overall market is using in the Dow Jones Industrial Average 30. I can see some pretty high valuations here, but I also see a group of stocks that have very low valuations in the Dow Jones Industrial Average 30. So it can be utilized not just for finding attractive looking research candidates, but can also be used to give you an assessment of the overall market. Of course, you could have done the same thing with the larger S&P 500. So as a helpful hint here, utilizing the portfolio reviews as a screening tool can be very, very effective and in a very efficient way to find companies that you might want to research further. Of course, you also have, as premium subscribers, the screening tool, but that's for another video. But I hope this helped and gave you a nice hint on how you can utilize the preloaded portfolios to identify attractive looking companies as well as to evaluate how the overall market looks currently. This has been Chuck Carnevale, co-founder of Fast Graphs. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this useful.